We were afraid, Wallace, that somebody had Sean talking about corruption and pulled the cable, but it turns out that was not the case, and we're back. Sean, thanks for staying with us. So I guess you can talk about corruption once again.
I don't know if I want to repeat myself.
Yeah. You're talking about corruption in the banking sector, and that has led to some poor purchasing decisions. Just explain that for us again.
Well, what I'm saying is that in some cases, and obviously I can't go into detail, systems have been purchased on the basis of the kickbacks that the particular managers have had, rather than on the merits of the system. So when you get a decision being made like that, obviously you're not going to get the best in the market.
Typically, right. We were talking about trying to mitigate risk and still remain profitable, and you can pick up on that again.
Yes, right. And okay, so another important aspect of the conference is the risk management and data security. And so, we have 8 international experts coming to speak on that, because that is just so important for the banks at the moment. It's very hard to get data in terms of the security intrusions that the banks have, but according to Deloitte, last year, research that they did last year, the rate of intrusions and data security breaches has increased dramatically on the previous year. So that's why we thought that would be an important aspect of the conference, is to provide briefings on that.
In the area of online payments, there doesn't seem to be much progress here in Kenya. There are not that many banks that allow people to be able to use your credit card online and things like that. But internationally, this is big business.
Yes.
What is it? Our security is not up to scratch, or people just don't see business in that area?
Well, I think there's been such a sort of dominance in the market of M-Pesa.
Yes.
And people are seeing that as their easiest route to market in terms of getting transfers, money transfers. So definitely there needs to be a refocus on the next stage in terms of developing proper online banking services. There's no doubt that that's needed. South Africa is far ahead of the game, and we have a couple of speakers coming from South Africa to talk about that. And cards, definitely. If Kenya is going to become a world player in terms of online e-commerce and be able to export online and import online, we've got to be able to have secure card transactions possible. But I think banks take a very conservative line. I&M has been the pioneer in this area, and to be honest, I don't know exactly why the other banks are holding back. We hope that will be discussed extensively in the conference, and that there will be action over the coming year.
Speaking of what is it called, M-Pesa, is it necessarily in the grand scale of things a direct competitor to banking, or should they see it as a complementary service that they need to offer and be able to interface with?
Well, I think that is definitely the case, that it is the big player in the market, and the banks do need to interface with it. But M-Pesa's range of services are very limited.
Yes.
And so that's where the opportunity is for banks, is to actually maybe use the M-Pesa platform to deliver more secure and more sophisticated banking services. Maybe, M-Pesa has been a great boon for the market, but it's also a problem in that it is so dominant, and so other players coming into the market have not been able to make the same headway. But ways need to be found around that, and working with M-Pesa is one of those ways. But then also finding other new innovations and other new ways of providing channels to the customer, is also important to explore. So the bank managements these days have to be very, very diverse in their thinking, and thinking out of the box is I think the order of the day, and that's what we want them to come to the conference to learn about.
How would you rate innovation in Kenyan banking sector? The government has tried to make it easier, for instance, with the agency banking, just trying to reach people in the unbanked areas of the country, and there's still a lot of people like that. But overall, in trying to make sure your services are attractive to people and you try and retain your customers, things like that, how do they fare?
Well, I would say certainly, if you compared with West Africa, far better.
Right.
Yes, I mean, it's far more customer-centric here. Ghana, for example, is quite colonial in their approach to banking still and quite conservative.
Yes.
In Nigeria, there is, the whole system has been held back because the government is, until late last year, held back on issuing mobile banking licenses.
Yes.
So they've got some catching up to do. So almost by default, really, Kenya is ahead of the game, possibly not as sophisticated as South Africa in terms of card services, for example.
Yes.
But in general, I think we've got a great foundation to build on, and certainly, it's the leader. Kenya is the leader in the region.
All right, you have been in this business for 25 years. That's a long, long time from the time when many of us didn't have devices like this. We didn't even know they would exist.
Yes.
To now, what have you witnessed as some of the big changes and the trends that we're expecting coming up?
Well, I would say the biggest game change trend has been the spread of mobile use in Africa, and that is the foundation that so much of the new technology innovations for the coming decade are going to be based on. I mean, that is what has reached the mass of the population, and so there's the whole process of upgrading those phone connections, maybe to smartphones, but then there's the whole process of introducing new applications and new services on those on those networks. So that stands out. Okay, in the 90s it was the internet.
Yes.
And that made a huge impact. And I remember at our early conferences in the early 90s, we were trying to explain the whole internet concept, and people were amazed by that. But so I would say the 90s it was the internet, in the noughties it has been mobile.
Right, so the mobile is still going to be a very important part of our life.
Yeah, that's going to be dominant, yes, more so. It's
fascinating. The AITEC Banking and Mobile Money Conference, when is this happening? Where, who can come?
It's here at KICC on the 7th and 8th of March. And it's preceded actually by a 2-day course that we're running on counter money laundering services, and so strategies, and that's also taking place. And we bring in a worldwide expert called Nigel Morris-Cottrell. He heads the anti-money laundering network across the world. And so, this again is a major issue to be dealt with in the region, and so we hope that the sector is really going to benefit from that input and from the whole conference.
All right, Sean, many thanks for coming in.
Larry, thanks so much. It's very nice.
Sean Moroney, Chairman of AITEC Africa, the AITEC Mobile AITEC Banking and Mobile Money Conference happening here next month at the KICC. And we're taking you now to the Nation Center. Willis Kintai is standing by.